In today's episode, we're going to be talking about real estate acquisitions and what's working now. So if you want to get started in buying real estate or contracting good deals right now, you're going to have some strategies. And some strategies will be good for zero budgets. Other strategies will be better if you just have a medium budget. And then there's yet other strategies that you'll need a big budget for. So stay tuned. We're going to discuss these levels. And for those of you who stick around to the end of this episode, I'm going to give away a private money webinar that'll help you learn how I raised over $26 million worth of private money in my career. I function off that $26 million today, right now. So it is out in play. On the first of the month, I'll get to write checks for interest to people who have loaned me $26 million. So stick around. I'll show you how I do it. In the world of real estate investing, nothing happens until someone gets a deal. Now, the ways to find these deals keeps changing, and I suppose it'll be changing from now until forever. It's always going to be changing, but let's talk about what's working now. So what's working now? Let's say you're a beginner and you have no budget. That's like almost everybody I know that started out in this business, including myself. We didn't have a budget. We wanted to get in the business. We didn't know where to start. What's working now is the same thing that was working then. It'll probably always work if you apply yourself 110%. When you don't have a budget, it's all about exposure, massive exposure. And when you don't have a budget, you're substituting time and expertise in the place of the money you don't have. When you don't have money, you have to put in time and you have to put in your expertise. So, what do you do when you have little to no money, a zero budget kind of thing? Well, you can do driving for dollars. You can do door knocking campaigns. You can do door hangers. You can do cold calling. The main thing is that you get out there and you mix it up and you be relentless in your time and your engagement out there. So if you only have 3 hours at the end of your workday to engage in real estate investing activities, then you burn up that 3 hours doing door-to-door, face-to-face, talking to people. If you talk to enough people, just random people, and say, I buy houses that need work or I buy situational properties, if you talk to enough people, anyone can find one of these houses. It's just a numbers game, and you have to put up the numbers. One of my favorite things to do is to put out Bandit signs, because those signs will keep working even after my job is done. As long as those signs are stuck to that telephone pole or stuck to that fence post, that sign keeps working, and that's why I like Bandit signs. I've bought hundreds of houses off of Bandit signs. Signs that say, I pay cash for houses, and a phone number. When I first started, I was so broke, I couldn't rub two nickels together. I would look around town. I would drive around and find the old political signs long after the race had been finished and the vote had been cast and the winner had been decided. There were still these political signs out. The ones I liked the best were the 4x8 sheets. And I would go and I would snag these signs. You know, there's an ordinance in our town that says that those signs were supposed to be removed within 48 hours after the election. So I figured if they weren't removed within 48 hours after that election, they were fair game. So I went and removed them for them, and I would flip them over to the blank side. I would take my marker and I would make my signs. I didn't even have enough money to buy plastic signs. That's why I had to drive around town and pick up all the political signs I could find. Now, I do want to caution you on this. I never took down any competitor signs or anybody who looked like they were still in business. I was going to find trash signs that had long since run their course and pick them up. I'd flip them over, wipe them off, write my sign, cut them in pieces, go put them up. I'd do it hundreds of times a month, and I would buy what turns out to be hundreds and hundreds of houses in my career from these signs. So let's say you have a small to medium budget, which is like $1,000 to $5,000. What do? I say the first thing you do is you use that money to hit some very specific lists. So you want these lists to be very targeted, and you want to attack these lists. It'll be like absentee owners, and then there's absentee owners that live out of county or out of state. absentee owners that are also behind in property taxes. Or you could reverse that. Find people behind in property taxes and then put in another filter. How many of these people that are behind in property taxes don't live in the property that I'm looking to buy? And then you could take it even further. How many of those people live out of county, live out of state, live out of the nation? And choose who you're going to pursue based on these lists. You also have to stick to these lists. Just because you mail someone once doesn't mean this game is over. When you have a good solid list of possible motivated sellers, you've got to stick to that list. So that means you'll have to do mailings or cold callings or emails or whatever you can find, however you can find to contact them. You have to keep contacting them month after month after month. It's not unusual and it's typical at our office to buy a property on the 7th or 8th or 9th touch. That's the 7th or 8th or 9th time that we've made a communication with them. So if we'd have quit on contact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we would have not bought the house. You have to have a lot of stickiness. You got to have some stick-to-itness. So make sure you don't just send one time and then abandon these leads. The main thing you do not want to do is shotgun out just to random people. This is not a good use of your money. You have a low to a medium budget. In fact, part of the advantage of having a smaller budget is that you can put so many filters on your list that the amount of prospects that actually make it through the filters and drop into the bucket are very highly targeted. And that's the advantage of having a small budget, is that you'll end up with some super targeted prospects. One of my favorite strategies right now is to take some of my budget money and mail out as many absentee owners as I can. Absentee owners meaning I'm mailing to a property where the taxpayer of record for that property does not live in that property. The taxpayer of record is shown to be living someplace else. So I'm mailing out letters to this taxpayer of record about a house that he doesn't live in, but he does pay taxes on. And I'm asking them if they want to sell. Now, I might send out 1,000, I might send out 2,000. I know the last time I sent this out, and it's a little larger scale, but I sent out to 10,000. While it's interesting to send out 10,000 pieces to 10,000 different people and sit around by the phone and wait for it to ring, that's not the reason I mailed 10,000 people. Now, if someone does get my message and call me, that's a plus. But the reason why I mailed 10,000 people was I wanted to receive the return mail. I wanted to see how many pieces went out there and then no one was there and the postman brought it back. Because if my mail piece didn't make it to the taxpayer of record, then no one else's mail piece made it either. And now the hunt is on. You can send out mailings and sit by the phone and wait for your phone to ring, or you can send out mailings, get the returns, and go to work. I like to go to work. You guys remember that poster from, I don't know, the 70s? They had those two vultures on the limb, and the one vulture was kind of leaping off and starting to spread his wings, and the caption said, "Patience my ass, I'm going to go kill something." That's how I like to run my business. I'm happy to get someone to call in off my letter or my flyer or whatever. That's great, but I want something to go to work on. And when I get those return mails, and out of 10,000, we'll get about 400 to 500 return mail pieces. 400 to 500 prospects where the postman's telling me, "I went to deliver your letter to this guy, but he's not there." And I'm saying to myself, wow, this guy, he isn't there. And he's not getting anyone's mailings. From all my competitors' mailings are not getting to him either. So if I can find him, then I'm going to be the only guy in the room with him, because it takes a lot of extra effort to find him. So I'm going to start employing my skip tracing talents or my skip tracing company to go help me find, where is this man who didn't get this piece of mail? And when I find him, those are some of my best deals ever, because the competition is all still sitting at home looking at the phone waiting for it to ring. So if you find this kind of information helpful, please go ahead and mash on that like button and pound on that share button and let the world know that we're out there. We have a lot of good content coming your way. And of course, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. You won't want to miss what's coming up on this YouTube channel. Now, in the highest echelons of marketing, and I'm saying $5,000 or more, but really $5,000 is a pittance compared to what some people spend in advertising. The idea, though, is to take something like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 and find out what's working, and then extrapolate it out to multiply your results. For example, if $5,000 gets you 3 houses a month, then $15,000 a month in advertising budget could mean that you're going to get 9 houses per month. And if you find something that works like that you just need to ramp it up and up and up, and the more you ramp it up, the more success you have, then you've found a key element to what you've been looking for in your marketing. But we use smaller budgets to decide what's working. And then once we find out what is working, we can decide to ramp it up and spend more in that direction so that we can get more of the results we're getting. Part of what you can do when you have bigger budgets is pay for bigger lists and pay for harder to find lists. I once went to the city water department, it's called a public water system in my town, city public service, and I asked them for a list of all the houses that had had the water meter removed for 2 years and up to 7 years. So I wanted water meters that had been removed for at least 2 years and then up to 7 years. And they came back to me and said to go fly a kite, that they weren't going to give me that list. And then I reached in my back pocket and I pulled out a FOIA Act form, Freedom of Information Act. And I presented it to them and said, this is public information. I am the public and I want a copy of this list. And according to this law and this act, you have to give it to me. I want to present this to the head of this department. So I presented it to the department head. So they said they could get me the list for $1,800. And I asked them, how many potential customers or clients will that bring to me? And they said it would be about 18,000 people on the list. So it was a no-brainer. I wrote them a check for $1,800. They got me the list of the 1,800 people, and I started to contact them, and I did buy my fair share of houses. Because think about it. If a house hasn't had a water meter for 2 years, you think the owner of that property has a problem? Do you think that property is just deteriorating every day? Is there any way a person could be making money off a house that doesn't have a water meter? So it's probably just a negative suck on this owner's wallet. It's just sucking money out all the time. So it's a great list to have. One of the first things I did when I committed to a higher budget was make sure we had a lot of cold callers and a lot of overseas VAs. We would hire these VAs to follow up on that list from the city public water service, city public service, to follow up on those 18,000 people. They were doing research, trying to find them, trying to skip trace them, trying to get me their phone numbers. We'd have the skip trace people hand the VAs 6 or 7 phone numbers for each potential owner. And then I would have the VAs call until they narrowed all those phone numbers down to the exact numbers that would get to the owner. And I could eliminate all these other bogus numbers or old phone numbers. And so I'm using this system of cold callers and VAs and everything to get it down to where, hey, Mitch, here's the phone number to the guy that owns this house who lives over here in this other house. And we've confirmed that this number will get you to Mr. Smith, the owner. And so now my acquisition people don't have to spend a lot of time and waste a lot of time. They're getting in direct contact with the person who actually owns that house and can make a decision to sell it or not. We really want our own acquisition managers talking directly to the sellers, because the VAs and everyone you can sub out to, they just don't have that kind of command over business or the English language, or don't have your interest as much at heart as you do. So we use the peripheral people to hone it all down, and then we put the vital information right in the hands of the acquisition manager, and they're professional closers, and then they go after the deal. So if you're taking some of this information and going out and signing contracts to buy houses, you're going to need some money. You're going to need some way to fund these deals. So how about I let you listen to a private money webinar that teaches you how to talk to private lenders about them loaning you money directly. This will change the whole way you do business. In fact, the course is called Private Money Changes Everything. And this webinar is going to talk to you about the importance of how private money works and how you can get an endless supply of private money. So just go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff and scroll up and down the page till you see Private Money Webinar. Click on that link and it'll be digitally downloaded to you.